Good morning, and welcome to Montclair State University's 2019 Graduate School Commencement Ceremony. At this time, everyone should please silence all electronic devices. Graduates, please rise as the processional will now begin. Leading the procession is the Grand Marshal, Professor Harband Singh. He carries the university mace, an ornamental staff symbolizing the president's authority. Now entering the theater are the Gonfaloniers, carrying the college and school flags. The faculty members bearing the gonfalons were selected for this honor by deans of their respective schools and colleges in acknowledgement of their scholarship and contributions to the university. Professor Eric Diamond is representing the College of the Arts. Professor Joseph Oluwole is carrying the gonfalon for the College of Education and Human Services. The Feliciano School of Business is being represented by Professor Handandhal Ravinder. Professor Paul Bologna is carrying the gonfalon for the College of Science and Mathematics. Representing the Graduate School is Professor Katrina Bulkley. Professor Daniel Mangara is representing the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. Professor Rachel Lyons is representing the School of Nursing. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President of Montclair State University, our trustees, university officers, and honored guests. Please welcome our distinguished faculty and staff. Please be seated. Please welcome the President of Montclair State University, Dr. Susan A. Cole.
Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you, and let me begin by thanking you for coming a little earlier than you intended to come today, but we wanted to make sure that you got out before any weather, and I really appreciate your flexibility and your patience and just your efficiency in getting here 2 hours earlier than you thought you had to be. So thank you. And welcome to Montclair State University's 2019 Graduate School Commencement Ceremony. As you walk across the stage today, oh wait, excuse me, getting ahead of myself. I have forgotten that we begin with the national anthem. How could I forget that? Especially since we have Nicole Jaudoin, who will be receiving her Master of Music degree today, and she will be singing the national anthem. Would you all please rise?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Nicole. We're going to be following your career in music. So it is my pleasure, really, to congratulate all of the graduates. As you walk across the stage today, each of you represents a unique set of aspirations and accomplishments, and your pride will be shared by the family and the friends who have joined you today and who have supported you in so many ways in your journey. The successful completion of graduate education is a particularly noteworthy accomplishment, and the 668 students from the August and January classes this year who will receive their degrees today will join a very special group. Nationally, only about 9% of Americans have earned a master's degree, and less than 2% have earned a doctoral degree. That's a small club. As a large public university, at the very heart of the mission of Montclair State is to provide the opportunity for rigorous study in graduate and professional programs, not just to the privileged few, but to all those with the aspiration and the ability and the determination to achieve that education. So while this extraordinary accomplishment should give you much satisfaction, it also gives you a very heavy responsibility to use the benefits of your education to make positive contributions to your family, your community, and the larger world. Your education takes on meaning as you use it to good purpose in the world. The intellectual maturity that you have gained through your graduate studies has provided you with the grounding to create new knowledge, to apply that knowledge to action in the world, and to continue the process of lifelong learning. What you will carry of value with you from the experience of graduate education is not a piece of paper to hang on the wall. What you will have gained is, in fact, the potential and some of the powerful tools that you will need to live the kind of life that contributes to the shaping of the world. Most of you are the first in your family to achieve a graduate degree, and most of you have the chance to stand in your communities as an example of what it means to garner your strength and determination to fulfill your potential. Don't shy away, do not shy away from standing as that example. Accept the responsibility both to live up to your own potential and the responsibility to show others the path to similar achievement. So this morning, we celebrate with you. And at the same time, because we're never stop teaching until you actually leave that door, at the same time, we remind you that your hard work was not just for this day. The point and purpose of it all extends well into the future, and we will all be watching to see where your journey takes you. A number of special guests have joined us today to participate in this celebration. First, I am pleased to welcome our distinguished honorary degree recipient, Ms. Judy Woodruff, distinguished journalist and author. Also joining us today is the honorary Dr. John Schreiber, right over there. Wave, John. The president and CEO of this magnificent New Jersey Performing Arts Center, in which we celebrate today. Thank you, John, for welcoming us once again into your house, and thank you for coming back to what is now your university, having been granted an honorary degree, and being here with today's graduates. Also, with us today are members of our Board of Trustees and our Foundation Board of Trustees. I would ask them to just give a quick wave as I call their name. Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees, Dr. Francis Cuss, Trustee John McGoldrick, Student Trustee Nikita Williams, Faculty Representative to the Board, Professor Sandra Adams, and members of the Foundation Board, Professor David Trubach and Penelope Vance. The university's unbelievably talented and hardworking vice presidents, deans, and senior officers have all come out for you on this joyous Saturday to cheer you on, and I would ask them all to rise and give you a hello. Thank you. It takes a village to get you where you are. I now call upon Professor Harbin Singh, our Grand Marshal. Professor Singh is a member of the faculty in the Department of Earth and Environmental Studies and has served the university and its students faithfully for 48 years.
Thank you, President Cole. Thank you very much. It has been an honor to be chosen as Grand Marshal for this auspicious occasion, but it is an even greater honor for me to present the distinguished faculty of Montclair State. Will the faculty please rise? Please, for the faculty.
It's hard to manage the faculty, isn't it? I now invite Dr. Francis Cuss, Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees, to bring greetings and to present our honorary degree recipient.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome. For the past 86 years of its 110-year history, Montclair State University has embraced graduate education and played a significant statewide role in preparing highly educated professionals in a wide range of fields. In the 1930s, Montclair State was the first of the state colleges to offer master's degrees. In the 1990s, we became the first of the state colleges to become a university and to offer doctoral degrees. In 2016, Montclair State was the first of the state colleges and universities to be recognized nationally as a doctoral research university. And in 2017, the university was further recognized by the state as a New Jersey public research university. These historic changes have transformed Montclair State at every step, establishing and distinguishing our stature as an institution in the fields for which you are being awarded degrees today. Throughout that history, Montclair State has fully embraced its mission as a university for the people. And now you have become part of the history of Montclair State University. And on behalf of the university's trustees, I congratulate you and wish you a fulfilling future. It's now my honor to present our honorary degree recipient. May I ask you to direct your attention to the video screens.
Hello, I'm Judy Woodruff.
Judy Woodruff.
Judy Woodruff. Judy Woodruff.
Good evening, I'm Judy Woodruff. Our mission is to give people the information they need to make informed decisions to go about their daily lives. I think it's critical, though, in the process that we in journalism are more transparent about the work that we do. That we say, we're reporting, here's the information we have at this moment, we're getting more information in all the time, and we'll tell you what we have. But that doesn't mean that we don't try very hard, day in and day out, to get it right. What we're in this to do is to inform people, to shine a light on the most important stories of the day, and to invite people to make up their own minds. There's an organization called the International Women's Media Foundation that a group of women journalists in Washington and New York and I were involved in, and we had organized an international conference for women journalists. Congratulations again to the IWMF. What a journey. Thank you to everybody who made it possible. I mean, our standards are supposed to be based in some semblance of fact or truth. I mean, our job is to report both sides of the story. Our freedom is worth fighting for. We are not fake news. That undermines the foundations of the role of a free press. And at the same time, it is a distraction from legitimate criticisms. We would not be the great country that we are, the democracy that we are, without the free press that we enjoy in the United States of America. Our work matters. It matters.
I would now ask Provost Gingerich and Grand Marshal to please escort Miss Judy Woodruff to the lectern.
Judy Woodruff, as a distinguished journalist and author, you have covered and reported on national news and politics for more than 4 decades at NBC, Bloomberg, CNN, and PBS. You earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Political Science from Duke University and have served as a visiting professor at its Sanford Institute of Public Policy and as a visiting fellow at Harvard University's Joan Shorenstein Center on the Press, Politics, and Public Policy. Your award-winning journalism career includes having served as White House correspondent for NBC News, chief Washington correspondent for PBS, an anchor of multiple television news programs, and your current role as anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. You are founding co-chair of the International Women's Media Foundation, an organization dedicated to promoting and encouraging women in journalism and communication industries worldwide. Among the many awards you have received during your distinguished career are the Radcliffe Medal, the Poynter Medal for Lifetime Achievement in Journalism, the Gwen Ifill Press Freedom Award from the Committee to Protect Journalists, and the Walter Cronkite Award for Excellence in Journalism. You also received the Edward R. Murrow Lifetime Achievement Award in Television, the Gaylord Prize for Excellence in Journalism and Mass Communication, and were inducted into the Georgia Association of Broadcasters Hall of Fame. In recognition of your achievements, Montclair State University proudly bestows upon you, Judy Woodruff, the degree of Doctor of Letters, honoris causa.
Well, thank you, President Cole. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the State of New Jersey and the Board of Trustees of Montclair State University, and upon the recommendation of the President and faculty, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Letters, honoris causa, with all the rights, duties, privileges, and immunities thereunto appertaining, of which this diploma is the written witness.
Thank you, thank you. The first thing I have to say is all those hairstyles. Thank you very much to Vice Chair Dr. Kuss, to President Susan Cole, to trustees, administrators, faculty, parents, families, friends, and most of all, today's graduates. Good morning and congratulations. Now, I understand that many of you were asking for this ceremony to be even earlier in the morning, but the President Cole said, no, we want you to sleep in. What a beautiful performing arts center we are in. We have so much to be thankful for. I am honestly thrilled to be with you today to celebrate the achievement of each one of you who will be recognized for the hard work you put into earning this master's or this doctorate that you will be awarded today. And I'm going to let you in on a secret. This is the first time I've been asked to speak at a graduate school commencement
and it's intimidating. You see, I didn't earn anything beyond a bachelor's degree, so all of you are better educated. We should probably be doing this the other way around. You should be giving me advice. I'm also going to be candid. After yet another full week of breaking news in Washington, with the fight over the government shutdown and all the other squabbles, flying to New Jersey early Saturday morning wasn't my dream idea of how to spend the weekend. But President Cole's description that almost all of you graduates are the first in your families to achieve an advanced degree, and almost all of you have been working and caring for families while pursuing your studies, that was irresistible. You have worked this hard, how could I possibly say no? To top it off, President Cole sent me a photo album from last year's commencement. When I saw the huge smiles on the faces of those graduates and their families, I could tell this is a special place. And it is, as each of you already knows. Montclair State is a jewel of an institution. And as we just heard from Dr. Cuss, it was the first New Jersey State College to offer master's degrees, the first to offer a doctoral program at a senior public institution. It has received more special rankings over the years than I could possibly count, but probably nothing more important than being designated as a public research university and then a research doctoral university, recognizing the growth, impressive growth in your graduate programs. I was blown away to learn of the graduate studies that are offered at Montclair State. More than 130 degree programs, 60 certificates, teacher certifications, administrative and educational services certifications. The list is a long one. The bottom line, though, is that you have received a superb graduate education. As you step out into the world to join an accomplished alumni body, as one of your own press releases says, more than 130,000 Red Hawks working in virtually every profession across all 50 states and worldwide. I'm reminded of Dr. Seuss and one of his books with a message for young people who are just setting out. Some of you are not so young, but it still applies. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself any direction you choose. That's, of course, from the Oh, the Places You'll Go, and I would add, oh, the contributions you will make. I'm here today with one main message to tell you that we need you. We need your brains, we need your talent, we need your willingness to work hard, and we need your values. We need you. We need each one of you to dedicate yourself to making your part of the world a better place. Whether you are in education or business or music, exercise science, child advocacy, speech language pathology, Spanish, chemistry, mathematics, information technology, sustainability, environmental science, that list goes on. You have the ability to make a difference in your profession and in the world. Why do we need you? Because for all the progress that our beloved country has made over its short life of 243 years, for all the good that people have created, we still have a way to go. We've traveled to the moon, and we've traveled outside the solar system. But we can't get rid of thousands of nuclear weapons that could destroy civilization as we know it. In fact, we're building more of them. We've made dazzling progress in medicine with discoveries like immunotherapy. But too many Americans don't have access to good health care that they can afford. We've built remarkable institutions of higher learning like Montclair State, but only 1/3 of Americans have earned a bachelor's degree. And 1 in 5 young people in this country don't even graduate from high school. As we just heard President Cole tell us, you are in a rarefied category. As she said, just 9% of Americans have a master's, fewer than 2% have a doctorate. We have passed laws in this country that make it illegal to discriminate against people on the basis of race or gender. Not yet everywhere on sexual orientation. But we still have members of Congress making statements about white supremacy that led just this week to a veteran congressman losing all of his committee assignments. And we are still in the riptide of the Me Too movement, wherein almost 50 years after the modern women's rights movement, we are still discovering women being harassed, molested, and even abused for daring to try to work in a profession dominated by men, like science or like television journalism, or choosing an occupation where women fill most of the jobs, like hotel housekeeper. And we've developed into a nation that is in many ways the envy of the world, a melting pot of people who came from somewhere else, across an ocean or a distant land. But we are right now trying to erect barriers to those who seek to come today for a better life for their families, for opportunity and for freedom that they don't have in their home countries. And even as we try to teach our children to treat others with respect, our political discourse has grown so coarse that we often want to cover their ears when they watch the news. So we have come a long way, but our work is not done. We have a long way to go, and we need each one of you, graduates today, to help us grapple with each of these challenges and so many more, to help us achieve that perfect union, as the preamble to our Constitution so aptly put it. I have no doubt that each of you can make a difference, because I think back to my own journey, and I know if I did it, you can too. Who would have thought that the daughter of two parents who never went to college, in my mother's case, did not even graduate high school, could be where I am today, reporting the news every day to millions of Americans? But I am, and so much of the credit goes to my mother, who loved me fiercely and told me constantly to get an education so that I could support myself. I can hear her now. Diapers and dishes can wait. She was my rock. And even though I had to borrow money and work part-time to pay for college, to take a second job while I worked as a secretary at a television news station, newsroom, my first job after college, I always felt her drive, her voice, telling me to keep going. Now, having said this, there's no way my mother could have known what the career that I chose, journalism, would be confronting today. We live at a time when the most powerful person in our government routinely calls the news fake and says most news reporters are enemies of the American people. Neither one is true. But it is not in our interest as journalists to get into a contest with the President of the United States, and it is not in the best interest of the American people either. The vast majority of journalists are driven to dig up the facts, to shine a light on problems and challenges in our society that need attention and need fixing, and to hold our public officials accountable. That's what our job is. And that's a good thing, because that's what the founders of the country envisioned. They wrote it into the First Amendment to the Constitution. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. The founders knew democracy thrives only when there is a free flow of information, when there are no constraints on what's reported. That means we in the press have an obligation to get our facts straight, to get it right, and that is something that is a never-ending challenge, because we are imperfect. We do make mistakes. We can't possibly know all there is to know at a given moment about something, whether it's New Jersey's healthcare situation or President Trump's North Korea policy. But we have to keep on trying to get there and trying to bring our readers and our viewers along with us, as we do. Because without information that we can count on to be right, We can't make the best decisions about our lives, none of us can, for our families, who and what to vote for, and all the decisions that come with being a citizen of the United States. So as you leave here today, focused on getting a job and making sure you can pay the bills, and I know you will all get a job. Two final thoughts. First, stay connected and give back. Most important, stay connected to your family. They know you best. They love you the most. Stay connected to your friends. They and your family will soothe your heart and cheer you on. And they'll count on you to do the same for them. And give back to your community, to your country, and to the world if you have the chance. Make time in your busy lives to volunteer, to lend a hand to those less fortunate. You are in a rare and rarefied group, and you do owe it to those who lent you a helping hand to pay it forward. And my second final thought has to do with Dr. Martin Luther King. The country remembers him with a federal holiday this coming Monday, a few days after his birthday, which fell this past week. I believe it is so important that even though he died 50 years ago, we remember what he accomplished in his short life. It's stunning to think he was only 39 when he died. It's so important to remember what he stood for, the very best of human nature, the dropping of racial barriers, the respect for one another no matter our background, that we judge one another not by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. We surely have not perfected that yet. For all the progress that's been made, and there's been some, there is still racism lurking in our schools and our workplaces and the places where we play. But by remembering Dr. King, we are called to honor his message and to live his values. And in looking over Montclair State's distinguished list of those who've received honorary doctorates over the years, I came across the name Bayard Rustin in 1968. He was a brilliant civil rights organizer, strategic thinker, and organizer of one of the earliest freedom rides, an advocate of nonviolent resistance, a close advisor to Dr. King. But he was pushed out of King's inner circle ultimately because he happened to be gay. When President Obama awarded Bayard Rustin the Medal of Freedom posthumously a few years ago, he said, "For decades, this great leader, often at Dr. King's side, was denied his rightful place in history because he was openly gay. No medal can change that. But today, we honor Bayard Rustin's memory by taking our place in his march toward true equality, no matter who we are or who we love." When Montclair State honored Bayard Rustin the very same spring that Dr. King was assassinated, I imagine it was a statement of support and acceptance that was well ahead of its time. And that is one more reason your degree from Montclair State is something to be proud of, a school that acts on its values. So whether you leave here today a doctor or a master, go with the assurance that you are well prepared to go out there, stand up for what you believe, and make a difference. Congratulations.
Thank you, Judy Woodruff. That was really extraordinary. Nothing fake about it. With the many hundreds who are graduating today, you now become an honorary alumna of Montclair State University, and we are really proud to call you one of our own. Now, let me see, is there anything we forgot? Any degrees we needed to grant? Oh, yes. Okay, so I now call upon Provost Willard Gingrich as we begin the conferment of degrees.
President Cole, it is my privilege to report to you that the candidates here assembled, who have successfully completed the curricula offered by the several colleges and schools of Montclair State University, have been so certified by the university registrar, and they are recommended by the faculty to be awarded degrees in recognition of their academic accomplishments. I am pleased to introduce Dr. Scott Hurnis, Vice Provost for Research and Dean of the Graduate School, to present the university's doctoral candidates.
Thank you, Provost Gingrich. It gives me great pleasure to present the university's doctoral candidates. I call upon Dean Tamara Lucas and faculty mentors to present the doctoral candidates from the College of Education and Human Services.
The candidate for the Doctor of Education in Pedagogy and Philosophy, Drew Emanuel Berkowitz, hooded by Professor Rebecca Goldstein. The candidate for the Doctor of Philosophy in Counselor Education, Kathleen Lynn Grant, hooded by Professor Dana Heller Levitt. The candidate for the Doctor of Philosophy in Family Science and Human Development, Connie Diop, hooded by Professor Pearl Stewart. The candidates for the Doctor of Philosophy in Teacher Education and Teacher Development, Corinne Gaffney Catalano, hooded by Professor Helen Rose Fives. Margaret Mary Juzinski, hooded by Professor Ana Maria Villegas.
I call upon Dean Laura Billings and faculty mentors to present the doctoral candidates from the College of Science and Mathematics.
The candidate for the Doctor of Education in Mathematical Education, Douglas M. Platt, hooded by Professor Stephen Greenstein. The candidates for the Doctor of Philosophy in Environmental Management, Dina Restaino, hooded by Professors Paul Bologna and John Gaynor. And Hania Solomonafar, hooded by Professor Yang Deng.
President Cole, upon recommendation of the faculty, I have the honor to present these candidates for the doctoral degree.
Thank you, Dean Hurnis. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the State of New Jersey and the Board of Trustees of Montclair State University, and in recognition of your achievement in fulfilling the curricula prescribed, I confer upon you as earned the designated doctoral degree with all the rights, duties, privileges, and immunities thereunto appertaining, of which the diploma is the written witness. Congratulations, doctors. You may be seated.
President Cole, it gives me great pleasure to state that the members of the August 2018 and January 2019 graduating class who have successfully completed the university's requirements for the master's degree stand ready to be presented to you by their deans. Dean Greg Kant will present the candidates from the Feliciano School of Business.
Will the candidates for the master's degree in the Feliciano School of Business please come forward to receive your individual acknowledgement?
Sade C. Crudup, Chirag J. Mistry, Catherine Valdez, Melissa Gorg, Alexandra Catherine Loro, Cindy Hui Yi Locke, George Mazie, Jessica Andrea Baria, Nelson Perez, William Eric Lovett, Melissa Cifuentes Nelson, Teresa Ganguly, Christina Francis Lombardi, Maciel Santana, Vanessa Fernandez, Solimar Baez, Shelma Charles Philippe, Marco Antonio Mosquera, Luisa Torres, Julissa Duran, Deanna Marie Mansueto, John Thomas Garris, Aaron Michael Attles, Robert Edward Triana, Tyler Michael Deal, Stephen Moschetti, Christopher Ortiz, Salvatore John Perinello, Myra Andrea Garcia, Sadaf Chagatai, Roberto Cabrera, Paul Mensa Ado, Nigel Opuni Frimpong, Janice Beeman, Cindy S. Lopez, Caitlin Quinones, Tracy Lynn Chrysler, Youssef Ibrahim Al-Jafari, Renat Khalid Abbas, Rola Khalid Abbas, Mishal Al-Saderi, Lujain Khalid A. Al-Sarehi, Bayan Wahib A. Harsani, Mevlut Kirazli, Frank E. Cardio, Amanda A. Castro, Renu J. Mahagaonkar, Serkan Saka, Ibtihal Al-Wakil, Rima Mohammed Al-Amro, Camilla Dudzik, Sylvia Chikezi, Samantha Ann Vale, Isabel Ortega, Amika Anna K. Campbell, Melanie A. Sebastian, Claire Elizabeth Mountjoy, Waleska Taylor, Carolina S. Guisca, Jillian Paula Vizano, Zachary T. Lynch, Kenneth Ford Partika, Regina Carey Scheike,
Brianna Marie Vaughn,
Murali Krishnan Mutulakshmanan, Daniel Cabrera, Araceli Balderas, Esther C. Rivarola Espinola, Ruben Misael Irizarry, Jill A. Dombrowski, Heathel K. Mystery, Christine Ann Hollowell, Danielle Marie Brown, Windia Deardan, Manmeet Kaur Gill, Felicia T. Anson, Tanya Leah Young, Luis Michael Cruz, Samantha Mercedes Bonet, Gerald Lozada, Lam Te Nguyen, Deja Sweeney, Kristen Nicole Hamill, David A. Bordet, Gavin Hobson Davis, Natalia Boyko, Safet Bereket, Mark James Giannini, Arwa Obedallah Alhamdi, Chibuzor Evelyn Kanu, Lee G. P. John, Tanja Julia Carter, Amanda Ann Bergenfeld, Tiffany Ann Leung, Deanna Christina Orozco, Elena Laura Isabella Guazzi, Kayla Inez Ceballos, Lookins Gerson Osias, Destiny Bianca Tucker, Keinde Kafilat Adedokun, Sundra Carlene Brooks,
Godfrey Anthony Best,
Andre Miguel Vieira, Diamani Marie Wooten, Anthony V. Lopez, Jeff L. Puchik, Dana Ashley Bartulovich, Courtney Danielle Phillip, Kylie Danielle Brienza, Kelly Elaine Shaw, Myrna Hannah, Leslie Chui Urtarte, Liv Daniela Fidalgo Aruda, Rajan Somu, Jeremy Edward Nast, Richard Wang, Andreas Karancikos, Sotirios D. Karabetsos, Kieran John Toniro, Sean Kenneth Rafter, Christina Marie Gronka, Gregory T. Gus,
Joannis John Vincent,
Anthony A. Amarales, Tony Marie Cachopoli, Arohi P. Shah, Agnieszka Sababa, Casey Christy Lee Nash, Christine Josephine Nouri, Daphne Reynoso, Priscilla Santos Pires, Abdulaziz Khalid Al Ibrahim, Fahed Saleh Al Sarhan, Mohammed Hamed Al Johani, Majed Abdullah Al Shahrani, Akinola S. Kanigi, Maya Gordon, Leslie Michelle Delman, Jeffrey Stephen Felber, Oyabukala Farid Oyalaji, Melissa Ann Toby, Alexandria Teresa Travato, Jennifer Mercedes Mercado, Danzali Priscilla McIntosh, Tanya Larissa Jargowski,
Dean Daniel Gurskus will now present the candidates from the College of the Arts.
Will the candidates for the master's degree in the College of the Arts please come forward to receive your individual acknowledgement?
Nicole Michelle Judois. Daniel Joseph Mango. Rieko Iguchi. Michael Anthony LaHue.
Kiara Boone.
Romy Pamela Cabral Mota.
Dean Laura Billings will now present the candidates from the College of Science and Mathematics.
Will the candidates for master's degree in the College of Science and Mathematics please come forward to receive your individual acknowledgement?
Mirza A. Ahmed Miran. Elian Limonai. Zahid Aziz. Johnny E. Almeida. Michael Mayorino. Eric Max Tobias. Elijah Alejandro Bojorquez. Justin Joseph Whelan. Valerie Marie Pascalis. Nicole Stephanie Provost. Janita Gautam. Priyanka Bhushan Fapali. Supriya Babasheb Kurambe. Navitha Ravindran. Inga Bondarenko. Samia Saad. Ramya Pandian Vijayakanthan. Sanjana Devraj. Tulsi Bodiwala. Mariam Hussain. Ankur Kumar A. Patel. Santoshi Lakshmi Reddy Elanki. Sneha Gulati. Hiba Obidala. Shakila Z. Asgar.
Tracy Schwam.
Brendan Joseph Ewing. Nicole Marie Marchese. James W. Liperace. Diane M. Liperace.
Dean Tamara Lucas will now present the candidates from the College of Education and Human Services.
Will the candidates for the master's degree in the College of Education and Human Services please come forward to receive your individual acknowledgement?
Shannon Grace Mulvaney. Dominique Noel Dixon. Skylar John Fennell. Heba Mustafa El Swifi. Alyssa Ray Bennett. Christian Andrew Cantatori. Lauren Sarah Lehman.
Nicole Fluellen.
Matthew Ian Rosario. Courtney Alexandra Savastano. Caitlin Rogers. Brunette Michelle. Alana Kathleen Buckley. Molly McGuire. Jennifer Diana Gazillo. Ava Lee Rem. Kelsey Blank. Gregory Clark Solomon. Kevin John Hoagland. Zachary Douglas Mathis. Luis Fidel Ojeda. Solmaz Hutan. Brittany Ann Fairweather. Syed Ephraim Krieger Hussein. Francesca Marie Leite, Ryan James Murphy, Marcela de Melsalindo, Sofia Panaritos, Jerome Levante Delroy Starr, Stephen Jesus Estremera, Emily Jacqueline Maring, Alicia Ashley Vega, Tracy Michelle, Taylor Lee Harris, Haley Elizabeth Smith, Elizabeth A. Kirchhoff, Megan Elizabeth Russell, Paige Kennedy, Kimberly Mary Woodruff, Kristen Lynn Hauser, Elizabeth Sunday, Christopher Andrew Golinsky, Fortessa Bayo, Stephanie Nicole Dunn, Denisa Oxalari, Jennifer Rodriguez, Sarah Rose Smarth, Jacqueline Pergola, Amanda Lieras Frazeo, Maria V. Fierro, Amy Lauren Falk, Tiffany A. Neotis, Alexa Sylvia Rubino, Taryn Mary McLaughlin, Danielle Teresa Kaczynski, Jacqueline Lee Pilkington, Adrian Elizabeth Stewart, Esther DeLone, Nancy Assam Mostafa, Emily Bernadette Slavin, Sarah Jordan Wager, Amy Elizabeth Brooks, Bethany Grace McMinn, Karen R. Varengia, Sandra Constantine Kitson, Danielle J. Gold, Flor Angelica Vite, Jason Robert Worcester, Tasha Marie Wurenberg, Rachel Dillon Lees, Raymond Peter Lochran, Anne Adele Montero, Nicole Kristen Sandus, Amanda Marie DeMayo, Jessica Lynn Andresini, Jordan Nicole Sicknick, Melissa Ann Papp, Neri Luz Lopez, Nadia Nicole Lunig, Kathy Ann Maldonado, Samantha Lee Gerson, Samantha Bayro, Catherine Jane Riley Palazzola, Dina Rebecca Guadalupe Ray, Anna Marie Robilata, Cindy Barbosa, Letitia Ray Young, Shanthia L. Williams, Lydia Maria dos Santos, Lisa Janice Fishman, Deborah Lee LaDolce, Heather Michelle Zielkowski, Lisa Ann Corliss, Sandra Catalina Pulgarin, Frank Michael Cacaval, Mary Beth B. Paoli, Lorna A. Alexander Taylor, Robin Alicia John, Morgan Lee Chapman, Lisa Christine Boutros, Christopher David Foglio, Sean Lamont Williams, Sarah Elizabeth Levy, Leanna Alexis Sudit, Addison M. Kime, Ashley L. Lambrinides, Edward John Ferrero, Mark Thomas Beck, Mary Kate Schmidt, Iman Amar, Jason Lee Hernandez, Stephen Portee, Pamela Jane Malfetto, Michelle K. Lefebvre, Asma Aljawi, Leonie Mesa,
Andre Patricia Matos.
Ronald Joseph Litz, Andrew Vanderbeck, Justin Thomas Licio, Mohammed Mustafa, Marisol Cortez, Elizabeth Sasso Karolitsky, Natalie Marie Polanco, Kellyanne McDonald, Maria Ezequiel Lopez, Jessica Lee Ranger Johnston, Jasmine Nicole Hardesty, Donna Charmaine Gibson, Michael William Warren Brooks, Laura Gemignani, Bianca Latoya Fairley, Linda Vanessa Gonzalez, Jennifer Catherine Hart, Rashida Ali, Antigone Sophocles, Christina Marie Santarpia, Christina Marie Alamo, Daisy R. Fabian, Patrice Marie Kakuza Salaji, Matteo Bellantoni, Juana Inmaculada Mordaga, Angel E. Solis, Rodney Lane, Rhonda L. Robinson,
Sarah Ann Marie Wizzolo.
Alisa Barnes, Shania Johnson, Ronald Brian Barahona,
Shawnee M. Edward Zimmerman,
Marilyn Fernandez, Teresa Monique Stokes, Olga Balakova,
Stephanie Cabral.
Randy Marie Lukashik, Francesca Pizzagoni, Samantha Nicole Easton, Melissa Greco,
Dean Lucas will now testify concerning the certification of members of the class to teach.
Will the members of the graduating class who participated in a teacher preparation program please rise? President Cole, it gives me great pleasure to state that these graduates have successfully completed their academic majors of professional sequence and the appropriate examination and are certified and qualified to teach in the public schools of the state of New Jersey.
Thank you, Dean Lucas. Congratulations to the teachers of New Jersey. You may be seated.
Dean Robert Friedman will now present the candidates from the College of Humanities and Social Sciences.
Will the candidates for the master's degree in the College of Humanities and Social Sciences please come forward to receive your individual acknowledgement?
Maribel Rivera, Tamika L. Knight, Senabu Haif, Alyssa R. Artuso, Crystal Mariah Herbert, Cindy Lee Gray, Abdel Kawatmi, Sean R. Mason, Diana Bajinska, Britta A. Odandi, Nicole Lee Conklin, Molly Shayna Prince, Sarah M. Krumka, Ashley L. Morris, Sin Young Park, Jillian Henry Green, Taylor Renee Jordan, Jessica Marie Cody, Vanessa Cruz, Abigail Kathleen Cohen, Nancy Bridget Buckley, Andrea E. Badiola, Elizabeth Fearon Davidek, Jennifer Santina Fratangelo, Megan Gabrielle Leach, Daphne Celeste Abraham, Michelle Slepp, Emily Kirsten Snyder, Nicole Klein, Catherine Fuentes, Brooke Ashley Whitmire, Emily Ann Lane, Jennifer Ellen Bent, Shannon Becker Fife, Christine Marie Nosby, Susan Perenni, Sarah Jean Cipolli, Joanne Olivo, Raymond Flagg, Arasis Diana Torres, Nicole Christina Perry, Courtney Elizabeth Frisella, Violetta M. Fudali, Kiana Christine Aline, Etaf Ibrahim Ali, Meg Sidney Weiss, Jasmine Rayvon Peters, Edith LaShawn Howell, Michelle Teresa Cumber, Angela Elaine Johnson, Amy Catherine Borgia, Joanna Luisa Cordova, Jaquesa Shemaine Unique Thurman, Garrett Thomas Van Kuren, Marquise Isaiah Guzman, Shauna Julia Zidanowicz,
Now, will all the candidates for the master's degree please rise? President Cole. President Cole, I am pleased to present the candidates who have qualified for the degrees of Master of Arts, Master of Fine Arts, Master of Music, Master of Arts in Teaching, Master of Education, Master of Business Administration, Master of Public Health, and Master of Science.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the State of New Jersey and the Board of Trustees of Montclair State University, and in recognition of your achievement in fulfilling the curricula prescribed, I confer upon you as earned the designated master's degree with all the rights, duties, privileges, and immunities thereunto appertaining, of which the diploma is the written witness. Congratulations, masters! Please be seated. Okay, so we're a little happy, yes? Good. This concludes the Montclair State University commencement graduate exercises. We thank you all for sharing this morning with us, and I would like everyone to remain seated until the recessional is completed. We leave, and you go on to a great life. Thank you.